Well, what caused you to want to record people like your friend Tom? Why don't you tell us about him? Tell us about Tom.
Well, I don't know. I just thought it was a good idea, I guess.
Well, who is Tom? What's his name? Who was it?
Tom MacIntyre is his name.
Uh-huh.
And he had a good-sized family here. And Tom did his share working underground in the early days.
What years about?
Well, like 1915, somewhere along that. And there was the Grey Rock, and some of those mines that you and I never even heard of. But then he turned into be a gambler, and he worked for years in different gambling places. Now, like when the Board of Trade was running, you know the Board of Trade, they had gambling there, and it was poker. That's what he did. He was a poker man. That's the type of gambling that he did, playing poker.
And how did you meet him in those years?
His daughter was married to my wife's brother. So, through the family, I got to meet Tom. And anybody who had the brougue that Tom did he got the open door as far as I was concerned. I'll be honest with you. And I just liked him.
He's quite a bit older than you.
Oh, yes.
So did you ever go when he was working in the Board of Trade?
No. I
just
didn't.
talked to him
No.
in private time once on the side.
In fact, I don't think when I got to know him, I don't think he was even working anymore. But he was a very nice man. I liked him. I took him up to Murraysville one time with me. And we stayed, I think, overnight or something. Just something to do.
Do you remember some of the stories he would tell you?
Huh?
Do you remember some of his stories?
From Tom?
Yeah, any favorites?
No, I really don't. If it wasn't for the tape, I'd be...
You wouldn't remember any of it?
I remember he was kind of cantankerous in a way. He decided that when he wasn't working, he quit this gambling, quit. Or maybe he couldn't work couldn't put any hours in some reason. He decided to move up to Wise River. So he got a cabin up there, up on the river, not the Big Hole River, that other river that comes down. He had a cabin up there. He used to fish all day. He was a great man for fishing. Oh God, he was nuts about fishing. And my wife's brother and I went up there many times to see him and bring him things, you know. We'd bring him things that he might need, something to eat, things, and visit with him. But I'm real happy that I got that tape with him, because if it wasn't for that tape, he'd be long gone.
Yeah. When did you take him? What year do you remember?
No.
Where were you, here at the house?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty neat.
But he was a fella that you had to handle him with kid gloves. And if he got mad at you, you're through. He just wiped you out. You're just nobody no more. But that didn't happen with me. I thank goodness I got along fine with him.
I wonder if that's an Irish characteristic. If you don't get along with somebody, you're through type thing. Because I know other people that are that way, that happen to have Irish backgrounds. I think it is.
I don't know. Perhaps so. With my mother.
Oh, okay. I forgot about that.
And if I'm not mistaken, John, I think there's 8 of those tapes.
8, like 30-minute tapes of your mom?
And it's mainly about Marysville. You know, because that's where she was born and raised, and she grew up there.
Yeah.
And that's what she, was interested in. And I made that tape with her, and thank God I had a couple made, and I think Lois, my sister, got one, and Brian, my son, got one. And Brian told me, he said, I had to go like to St. George or something, maybe an hour and a half, 2-hour drive, and I put a tape on for Grandma. And he said, I sure enjoyed it,
Yeah.
But I have those tapes, but I would never part with them.
And you took those tapes here in this house?
Yeah. No, I would never part with them. I do have a couple of tapes, John. I don't know whether they're any good or not. I've never played them. That I made myself.
Of yourself?
Yes. I get tired of talking to him.
To Clancy?
So So I don't know if you want to listen to them. I would let you take them.
Okay.
But I wouldn't want them to be any place but you.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
I want to ask you about that prohibition again. All you said was that there was nickel beers out of the White Swan.
Yeah.
But during Prohibition, didn't they pretty much close down all the bars?
Oh yes, they were all closed. When I was talking about the White Swan, beer had come back.
Okay, so that was after Prohibition. So were there speakeasies around town?
Oh sure.
Did you ever go to any?
Yeah.
Where?
Well, the only one I can just think of right offhand was right straight across the street from the KC. It was downstairs. There was 2 fellas had a bar down there. And there were a couple of places, like there was a woman named Mrs. Scatolini, and she was on Galena Street down there someplace, and she sold. You could go there and buy a pint, no drinks, a pint.
Did you ever go down and listen to Butter Driscoll play the piano?
No, I've heard him play, but I never stayed around.
But you did the Canes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but you didn't, you ran around with the Canes, but you didn't run around with Brother Driscoll.
I didn't run around with the Canes.
Oh, you didn't?
Pat was, he did, you know, he was the Canes to me. I met his sons, of course, but, Fritz, wife. Oh, he was, there's a man that took a lot of information with him when he died.
Pat Kane?
Yeah.
What kind of information?
Anything you can imagine. And he always had a very strong opinion. It didn't make any difference what it was. Politics or anything else. There was no on the fence with Pat. He was a great guy. I sure liked him.
Did you have any good close friendships from the mines and partners?
No.
You never did, huh?
No, I had friends, you know, but we didn't associate it with after work or anything. But I had a lot of friends.